I've had a bit of a tumultuous history with custom loop builds on this channel, so when Corsair reached out offering to send over a bunch of stuff for a loop and a video, I had some mixed feelings. On the one hand, I was like, hell yeah, I want to do a custom loop build, and then on the other hand, I was terrified, because I still haven't really recovered from my PETG-fueled nightmares. But then I thought, why not just take the easy way out and do a softline build, something that I've never done before, and then I'll just pretend like I'm doing it because I prefer the look of it, and not because I still have night terrors. Now this custom loop has been months in the making, because Corsair told me they can send me anything my little heart desires aside from a graphics card and a CPU. Now luckily, these two things are in abundant supply at the moment, so it definitely didn't take me forever to find them. I actually have to specifically thank Mr. Warman for this RX 6800, because after an intense bartering session, I was able to convince him to send me this beautiful RX 6800, which Corsair does make a block for. CPU-wise, we're using a 5900X, something that I'm extremely excited about. I was able to find this on Craigslist for below MSRP. Well, I mean, a little bit above MSRP, but it was without tax, so technically it was less than buying it new, which was pretty exciting, and it was just unopened. Can't wait to get into that. Motherboard-wise, I've actually already got the 5900X in this MSI X570 Tomahawk board, which has a nice black aesthetic. It's one of the reasons why we're going to use it. And then finally, Corsair sent over a bunch of custom loop goodies. And with that, let's assemble the system and do a test fire before we get started on the loop. Oh. Hey. Okay, now that we've confirmed that everything is live and well, it's time to get the blocks on the CPU and the GPU. And here's the block, which, you know, it looks pretty nice. It's more plasticky than I'm used to, but, you know, I guess that's fine. It's not like it needs to withstand a prison yard shiv battle. Now, I'm not one to waste, so I'm going to use the pre-applied thermal paste, which is in this kind of triangular pattern, I guess. Okay, that is a very mounted block. And then, as is tradition with RGB, there is a cable that we need to deal with. Yeah, I'm thinking of just kind of trying to run it under the block up the top. Okay, I think that's a reasonably well hidden cable. But of course, before we get the block on, we have to remove the stock cooler. Okay, we are about to break the card's virginity here. There we go. Ugh. Oh. That's interesting. This PCB actually has rounded off edges. I don't think I've seen that on a GPU before. It's pretty cool. Okay, here is the underside of the cooler, and they actually do use a thermal pad for the GPU, which I think is pretty cool. Unfortunately, I did break it in the process of taking the cooler off, but that's fine. We're just going to replace it with thermal paste anyway. And then here is the actual graphics card. Oh, what a beauty. Look at that GPU. Ooh, this is starting to look really good. There's something just awesome about blacked out PC hardware. And I think with that tubing, it's gonna look amazing in that case. So yeah, with that, let's start building the system into the case. The 5000X. And here is the case that Corsair sent over. Not entirely sure. I like the way it looks. I don't think it's gonna match the aesthetic of the build very well, but I chose it, you know, my bad. I'm sure we'll figure out some way to have it match the aesthetic. We'll figure something out. Okay, so after what can only be described as a gratuitous amount of swearing and heart palpitations, this is where we're at. I had to end up ditching the second 360mm radiator, because otherwise it was going to be an absolute cluster kerfuffle over here, tubing-wise and stuff. So yeah, this is going to be much easier to route. The pump res combo is a little bit tiny and it's hanging a bit skew over here, but it all is gonna work out, I think. So I think I can start routing tubing and hopefully trying hard not to jinx himself here. I think this is gonna be the easy part, considering that it is softline and all. But yeah, I think it looks real amazing. I am very excited to see how this turns out. Oh yeah, on a side note, I do have both of the radiators set up as intakes so that we have some serious positive pressure in this case. This fan here is going to be the only one doing any exhausting. Use some welly to get that shit on. Oh, we can celebrate. Tube number 1 is on, and it also kind of acts as like a GPU rest. Yo, I've used this fitting in literally every custom loop I've done. Top tip, when it comes to doing up really rough fittings, gloves like this with nice grip on it does help a lot. So let's pour in some water. Oof. There's always something extremely nerve-wracking about pouring water into a PC. It feels so counterintuitive. It's like, this is the last place you should be pouring water. And we already have a leak. Where is that coming from? Oh, it's coming from the actual fitting though. So it's coming from this bit. I just need to tighten that up. That was a very minor leak. This is an old fitting and I just didn't retighten it properly. But other than that, it seems like we're okay. There we go, that's why we got the paper towels. I actually almost didn't use the paper towel. Okay, so now I'm gonna actually start the power supply. I've got everything unplugged on the power supply end aside from the pump. Okay, there we go. Let me get out of your way. Nothing else seems to be leaking. I always get phantom wetness. Like, it's like, when I feel fittings, it feels like I'm, like, even if they're dry, it feels like I'm sticking my hand in an aquarium. More water into the res. Cycle number 2. Oof. Again, phantom wetness for days. Oh, big ass bubble in the block there. Yo, that is like, oh, it is overfill, but that'll drain. There's still a lot of air in the loop, so that's gonna take some time. Now, unfortunately, this fitting is actually leaking. It's the fitting joint over here that's leaking, and I do not feel like replacing it. So I'm gonna be super ghetto here, and a lot of you are probably gonna hate me for this, but I'm just gonna use like plumbing tape. I've got this stuff, which I'm gonna cut smaller, and then I'm just gonna do a little bit of a loop around there. And then I don't have to drain most of the loop to get it out. Even though it is soft line, so it wouldn't be super difficult to do, I am just at the end of my tether, so I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do this. Okay, so let's try again here. I'm gonna go like that. It's gonna come around. No one will be the wiser here, except for the fact that I'm showing all of you what I'm doing. Should fix it. It is a very, very minor leak. Okay, now I'm gonna give it like 20 minutes and see what happens. It is now the next morning. It's been running overnight, and it seems like the fix has worked. We haven't had any leaks from there. We haven't had any leaks from anywhere. In fact, I've checked up here as well. So yes, we have a successful custom loop that only had 2 minor leaks. So yeah, now I just need to go around the back. I need to fix this abominable mess back here, and then we can see how this loop actually works. It's exciting. Let's see if it works. It'll be amazing if it just boots up on first try. So yeah, let's keep fingers crossed. Ooh. I mean, I obviously need to dial in all the RGB. I'm not gonna have it on Rainbow Vomit in such a black build. None of the fans are spinning up, which is always a good sign. I need to open the back quickly. Now I'm going to take this moment to just briefly rage quit on RGB because it's the dumbest in existence. First off, I decided to use this hub in here, which is the RGB hub that comes in the case. But for some reason, I couldn't get the RGB hub in the case to interface with this $100 Commander Pro thing, which is already a pain in the ass that you need a hub to plug all of your hubs into so that they can create a hub world and then they can do raids in Warcraft together or whatever. But so that thing didn't want to talk to that thing. And when I plugged it straight into the motherboard, then the software ignored it. It just pretended like it didn't exist. Now again, I am very much down to accept that this is due to me being stupid, because that's very likely, but still, I couldn't get them to interface. So then what I did is I went and found the RGB fan hubs that comes with the ML120 fans in here. So this, I was able to plug into this Commander Pro thing via the like hub extender cable that we have over here. I don't know if that works yet because I haven't powered it up yet, because I have a different problem. I wanted to use the other hub to plug all of the like liquid cooled RGB stuff in. But the problem with that, as you can see here, we've got a 4-pin RGB header, whereas all of the liquid cooling stuff uses a 3-pin RGB header. So I couldn't plug that into that hub, and this Commander Pro only has 2 of the 3-pin RGB headers. But you have to use the 3-pin to plug this hub in that doesn't support the other 3 pins. So now I only have 1 spot left for all of the RGB stuff to put in there. But there is another option. You can use, I have one somewhere in this complete mess of cables. Oh yeah, I've lost it. I don't know where it is. But basically it's a converter from this thing to that 3-pronged RGB header that motherboards use. But the problem with that is those headers also suck ass. So when you try and plug it in, I accidentally broke the only header on the motherboard that supports it. The reason for that is because you can only start fixing all of the RGB rubbish once you finish the entire loop and the system actually can boot in, right? So at this point, you don't know what dumbass mistakes you've made hooking up the most complicated contraption in the universe. So then you have to like reach into all these little holes around cables and stuff to try and get to headers that aren't readily accessible. And then it just means that you break shit. And after all of that, it does admittedly look really amazing, but this fan won't light up for some reason. I don't know why. I triple checked that it's plugged in. It is plugged into the RGB hub. I've got it configured in the software, but no, it just doesn't want to join the Warcraft party raid. Okay. I've had some cheese, I've recovered, I am no longer in my RGB-induced rage, and now I'm really happy with the result. I think it looks very cool. I still couldn't get the middle fan to light up for some reason, but again, I couldn't really be asked at this point to do anything about it. The same goes for the lighting on the motherboard. I couldn't be asked to install MSI software at this point to change that color. I guess we're just gonna have a bit of a hint of green in here until I can build up the courage to go back into it. I'm not gonna spend any more time talking about the RGB because otherwise I am going to just pop a blood vessel in my brain. I will say that all of it's probably due to user error. Temperature-wise, it's fine. GPU-wise, it's hovering in the mid to low 40s, which is really good for a 6800. As far as the 5900 goes, the CPU in here, it's at about 73 degrees Celsius, which kind of intuitively feels quite high for a custom loop cooled CPU, but the 5900 is like trying to cool a small sun, it seems like, from a bit of research that I did on the internet. So I feel like that's a fairly standard inline temperature. Yeah, again, I think it looks amazing. If you want to see more performance-related benchmarks, I didn't have time due to all of the RGB shenanigans to actually properly benchmark the system. So I will be streaming later today on the PC, and I'll try out some games and, you know, so that you can see some estimate of how the system actually performs. So I'll have my Twitch linked in the description below if you want to check that out. With that, I think I'm going to end off the video. Hopefully I can figure out a way to edit all of this in time. Thank you, Corsair, for sending out the custom loop stuff, and until the next video, bye-bye.